no one knows it that much, but on the Thursday night after the training, I went over on my ankle and sprained my left ankle. And
So
I was doubtful.
Yeah, so there we go.
I went on to Wembley as soon as we landed, and, on the Friday afternoon. From King's Cross we went to the stadium, and I walked onto the stadium with a walking stick.
So Jack, when we get down to Wembley and we're in the dressing room before the game, did you have a coach that year? Was there a coach, manager of the team?
Later on, yes, John Towers, he came and acted as a coach, but that was, I think, about the time when we were going to play Wimbledon.
All right.
When I realised that there was a possibility of going forward, because he was ex-captain of Darlington Football Club. Played as an amateur, of course.
Can you remember, what were his main points he put across? I know you said something about, I remember...
Well, the one thing was, he used to say, they get on about, packing the defence. He says the best defence for a team is for the ball to be in the opposing half.
Yeah.
That's simple, but quite true.
True, yes.
And he always told me just to take a little bit more time, not time wasting, but just take a bit more time. And he says, if you are in the penalty area, that's your domain, you're in charge.
The goalkeeper's in charge in the penalty area.
Yeah, if you're going for a ball, you go for it. If you miss it, then you miss it.
Yes. So when we walking out onto the pitch, Willington were underdogs that year.
Oh yes, well I mean,
Bishop
again,
on a good side.
Bishop had 5 or 6 internationals on as well, hadn't they? And I don't think that we were expected to win.
No.
We were very disappointed, the Bishop Auckland people, and I think our supporters were more than happy. Happier than they after the game than before.
It was a good crowd, wasn't it? A good crowd. What was it like?
84,000.
So what was it like to walk out? That would be the biggest crowd you played in front
of.
Oh,
of course.
What was it like to walk out in front
Well,
of
you walked out
like?
and all you could see was just a grey mass, surroundings, because you were well away from the spectators, and you couldn't pick anyone out really well. Unless you were spotted and told exactly where people were.
Which would be a big difference.
And you couldn't hear much, you couldn't hear the crowd shouting at all. No.
So it would be a big difference from a Northern League ground, wouldn't it, where the crowd
Well, it
right
was,
on top
but
of
it didn't seem to affect us. We didn't go out beforehand. We'd been there the day before.
Yeah, right.
Bishop went out beforehand to have a look around.
Did they?
Yeah. Another thing that was interesting with Wembley, we were told, that the professionals, you used to make sure that you got there on time. And sometimes it was a good 3/4 of an hour to an hour before the kick-off. And they used to say that the professional teams, Arsenals and etc., used to bring in celebrities or comedians to crack jokes to keep them occupied. We didn't. No, we just kept sitting and everywhere and said, well, what's going to happen now? We weren't...
we weren't too fussed.
We weren't at all... well, what can we say? We didn't have any nerves.
No,
we just walked onto the field, and as you said, you couldn't tell what the crowd was like. You just a grey mass, you couldn't hear them. So you just walked on and you concentrated on the ceremony beforehand, and you had a bit of kick about, and that was it. And you just got on with the game. And before you knew where you were, we were going up the steps with the medal.
With the medal. Who presented them that year, Jack?
The Lord Wigram, he was equerry to it was the King then, wasn't it? The King then.
So, Jack, I know you've told me about what happened when you were coming home from Wembley, different things. Do you want to explain a little bit of that now, or keep it off the film? Because I know not everything went according to plan, did it, as regards what the players
no.
Or should we just leave that side?
It was just that there was some misunderstandings between the committee and ourselves. Things were sorted out.
And of course,
what we didn't realise, of course, was when we got back on the Sunday, we weren't allowed to go up and down the street because people, it was still, in those days, it was still sort of, you know, you can't play cricket, there was no cricket,
nothing on
you
a
can't
Sunday.
play football on a Sunday,
Yeah.
you go to church, nothing wrong with that, but we weren't allowed, as they said, it was crowd control. I suppose nowadays the jargon will be for health and safety reasons.
Yeah. So, Jack, really, was that your first season with Willington?
And my last.
Your first and last?
Yeah.
Was it really?
The first game after Wembley at Willington, I broke my collarbone.
Right, yeah.
Playing Billingham. I was made captain for that day. That was the first and last. And in the meantime, I had been chosen to represent an amateur 11 going on a 6-week tour of Scandinavia.
Right. Who would you say was the best player that you played with or played against?
Well,
is anybody,
there's only one.
Go on.
Bob Hardesty.
Bob Hardesty.
Bob Hardesty was the player. And although the teams in the Northern League used to boom, they'd be the first to welcome him if he went to their club.
Yeah, right.
And yet the interesting thing was I used to play with Bob Hardesty at the golf club at Bishop. And once on the way around I said, "Hey Bob," I said, "you've played for England, you've been amateur captain, you've played for the Olympic team. Now which game do you like best, golf or football?" And I was certainly going to say football. He says golf.
Oh.
And I was amazed.
Yeah,
I said, "Well, why is that, Bob?" Well, he said, "Because it's an individual game."
Yeah.
Most of the teams in those years were sort of professional standard. I mean, they could get into any team today without any effort.
Without any effort. Different times. Football.
Oh, yeah.
So really in those days, I mean, football was everything for a lot of youngsters.
Well, that was it.
There wasn't other temptations. There wasn't other attractions.
There wasn't. There was no television.
No, that was one of the main things. Yeah.
That was the famous joke. What was it? The Northern Lights, wasn't it? The bloke called Elliot, the comedian. There was a play, wasn't there, about the Northern League?
Yes.
And I was asked to explain, and talk about it. And the best thing about the Willington Bishop final was at Bishop Auckland. A chappie wireless had broken down, so he went to Oliphant, who was the repairer of those contraptions. And he said, "Well, I'll try and get it to you for the game, particularly the second half, the Bishop Willington final." Anyhow, he did come along because the second half it was broadcast by Raymond Glendenning was doing the broadcasting, the well-known one, the John Watson of that era.
Without doubt.
And the bloke, he just got there and he put it down and he turned the wireless up. And they said, Glendale said, "We're now at Bishop, now at Wembley, where Bishop are playing Wilton in the Amateur Cup final. And the score now is Willington 3, Bishop Auckland 0. And the bloke said, "Take that bloody thing back and get it repaired properly."
The wires across.
Get the wires across.
Very good. That's all-time great.
Yeah.
All-time great. That's a good story. Yeah.